The little girl had been staring at the same Barbie doll behind the glass for nearly 10 minutes when her mother finally reached for her hand and gently pulled her away. The girl tried to smile, but her eyes stayed fixed on the pink box until it disappeared behind them. Outside the store, beneath the bright afternoon sky, her mother stopped beside a quiet bench, took a shaky breath, and whispered the words she had been trying not to say all week, "I can't afford a Barbie for your birthday." She expected tears. She expected disappointment. She never expected that, less than an hour later, those words would reach the ears of a powerful CEO who had forgotten what money could never buy. If you believe kindness can create second chances, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner 2.0. Your support helps stories like this reach people who still believe that one small act of kindness can change a life. The mother's name was Maren Ellis, a 32-year-old single mother who worked as a morning cleaner in a large corporate office downtown. Every weekday, she woke before sunrise, packed a small lunch for her 8-year-old daughter, Talia, and caught 2 buses across the city. Maren never complained about the long hours. She had learned years earlier that complaining did not make rent cheaper, groceries last longer, or school shoes grow back their worn-out soles. Her entire world revolved around Talia, a bright little girl with curly dark hair, curious brown eyes, and a habit of drawing pictures on every scrap of paper she could find. Talia's birthday was only 3 days away, and for months she had talked about one thing she wanted more than anything: a Barbie doll wearing a purple dress that she had seen in a television advertisement. Maren had secretly been saving for it. Every evening, she placed a few coins and small bills into an old blue envelope hidden inside a kitchen drawer. But then the refrigerator stopped working. A week later, Talia needed medicine for a bad fever. Then the electricity bill arrived higher than expected. By the time Maren finally counted the money in the envelope, she realized she was still far short of the price of the doll. She sat at the kitchen table that night with the envelope open in front of her, pressing her fingertips against her forehead while Talia slept in the next room. She could have cried, but she had become too tired to cry. Instead, she made herself a promise. Her daughter would have a birthday worth remembering, even if the cake was homemade and the presents came from a discount store. The next afternoon, Maren took Talia downtown after work. She had promised her they could look at the birthday decorations, hoping that simply seeing the colorful displays would make the day special. But when Talia noticed the Barbie in the window, her face lit up. She pressed both hands against the glass and whispered that it was the exact one from the advertisement. Maren watched her daughter's reflection and felt her heart sink. Talia never demanded anything. She had seen her mother count coins at the grocery store and quietly put things back. She understood far more than an 8-year-old should have understood. When Maren finally pulled her away from the window, Talia asked if they could buy it. Maren knelt beside her and tried to keep her voice steady. She explained that the money they had needed to go toward more important things. Talia looked down at the pavement and nodded. Then she surprised her mother by wrapping both arms around her waist and saying that she did not need a Barbie if having one meant making her mother worried. That was when Maren could no longer hold back her tears. She hugged her daughter tightly and whispered that she was sorry. Neither of them noticed the man standing several yards away. His name was Everett Calder, the 46-year-old CEO of Calder Meridian Group, a company that owned several office buildings and technology firms across the city. Everett was used to people recognizing him, flattering him, and asking him for favors. He was dressed in a navy suit, walking toward his car after a business meeting when he heard the little girl tell her mother that she did not need a birthday present. He stopped. Something about the scene bothered him. Not because the mother could not afford a doll. Not because the girl wanted one. It was the quiet dignity in the way they stood together. Everett had spent years surrounded by expensive things, yet he suddenly realized he could not remember the last time he had watched someone value a hug more than a gift. He followed them from a distance, not wanting to embarrass them. Maren and Talia walked into a small discount shop across the street. Everett waited outside. A few minutes later, Marin came out carrying a simple paper bag. Talia held a small handmade notebook against her chest. Everett assumed that was her birthday gift. But the real surprise came the following morning. Marin arrived at the corporate building before 8. She changed into her cleaning uniform and began working through the executive floor. She had no idea that Everett had already asked his assistant about the woman he had seen the previous afternoon. He learned that Marin worked for the building's cleaning contractor, that she had been employed there for almost 4 years, and that she rarely missed a shift. Everett watched her through the glass wall of his office as she carefully cleaned the hallway. She stopped when she noticed a framed photograph on a nearby shelf. It showed Everett's late mother, the woman who had helped him build his first small business when he had almost nothing. Marin noticed that the frame was dusty. She carefully cleaned it. Then she straightened it. She had no idea whose photograph it was. Everett walked out of his office and asked why she had taken the extra time. Marin simply explained that the woman in the photograph looked important to him, so she thought the picture deserved to be treated with care. Everett was silent for a moment. Then he asked about her daughter. Marin froze. She recognized him immediately and worried she had somehow done something wrong. She explained that Talia's birthday was coming up and that everything was fine. She insisted she was grateful for her job and did not want special treatment. Everett told her he had seen them outside the store. Marin's face turned red with embarrassment. She apologized for what he had overheard, but Everett stopped her. He told her there was nothing to apologize for. Then he asked a question that changed everything. When was the last time someone did something kind for you without expecting anything in return? Marin had no answer. Everett did not hand her money. He did something more meaningful. He asked her to sit down. He learned that Marin had been taking extra cleaning shifts whenever they were available. He learned that she had never asked for a raise because she feared losing her job. He discovered that she had been using public transportation for nearly 2 hours each way because she could not afford a car. Most importantly, he realized that the company had been paying the contractor a rate that had not been reviewed in years. Everett immediately called a meeting with the contractor. By the end of that week, the cleaning staff received a new wage agreement, better scheduling, and paid personal days. Everett also created an emergency assistance fund for employees facing unexpected family expenses. He never announced that he had done it because of Marin. He did not want her to feel like a charity case. But there was one more thing. On Talia's birthday, Marin arrived home expecting nothing more than the small celebration she had prepared herself. She had baked a simple chocolate cake before work and wrapped the little notebook from the discount store. Talia sat at the kitchen table wearing a paper birthday crown. Then someone knocked. Marin opened the door and found Everett standing there with a large gift bag. He explained that he had spoken with the company's employees and wanted Talia to receive a birthday present from everyone who had heard how much she loved drawing. Inside the bag was not just a Barbie. There were art supplies, coloring books, a sketchpad, and a small collection of dolls, carefully chosen because they represented different careers and interests. But the most important gift was a handwritten card. It told Talia that dreams were not measured by the price of a toy. Talia read the card slowly. Then she hugged her mother. Marin began crying. Everett stood quietly by the doorway, watching the moment. He realized that the greatest thing he had given that family was not the gift bag. It was the chance for Marin to stop feeling ashamed of struggling. Months passed. Talia continued drawing. She began creating little pictures of people helping one another. Marin received a promotion to a supervisory position and finally found herself able to plan for the future instead of merely surviving each month. One afternoon, Everett visited the building and found Talia waiting in the lobby after school. She handed him a drawing. It showed 3 people standing beneath a bright blue sky, a mother, a little girl, and a businessman. Above them were the words, "People can be rich in kindness." Everett stared at the drawing for a long time. He had built companies, signed enormous contracts, and watched numbers climb across screens. But that little piece of paper meant more to him than any business award he had ever received. He asked Talia why she had drawn him. She simply said that he had taught her mother that asking for help did not make someone weak. Everett smiled. And for the first time in years, he understood something his wealth had never taught him. Sometimes the person who thinks they have nothing to give is the person who gives you the most important lesson of your life. Marin never forgot that afternoon outside the toy store. She still remembered whispering that she could not afford a Barbie. But years later, she understood that her daughter had never really needed an expensive birthday. She needed to know she was loved. She needed to see her mother keep going. And sometimes, she needed a stranger to remind her that difficult seasons do not last forever. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner 2.0. Your support can help this message of kindness, dignity, and second chances reach someone who may need it today. And before the story ends, I have one special request. Comment, "Kindness changes everything," if you believe a small act of compassion can change someone's life. Because sometimes, the greatest gift is not the one wrapped in a box. Sometimes, it is the moment someone looks at a struggling person and says, without judgment, "You don't have to face this alone." And that is a gift no price tag could ever measure.